So a lot of us believe that Nasty C hasn't done enough for South Africa, but trust in me, he has impacted Durban a lot more. I'm guessing we're tired of speaking about Nasty C, the most streamed South African rapper of all time. The rapper who's been in the game for 10 years and still isn't even 30 years old yet. The platinum records, the accolades, success alongside his awards. And I found out something very interesting the other day, in fact, that even when he was signed to a major, he funded his own Ivyson Tours. But Nasty isn't going on a level above, nor will I think he will fall off, but he's been stagnant. And a lot of us are asking, what can we expect from Nasty C next? You know, what can he do that's better than the last time? Which brings me to my point of this video. Nasty C may not have done a lot nationally to the magnitude of Kulichana, Jabba, Pro, Squatter Camp, etc. But he's surely done a lot for KZN, and here's why.
Hard. And Nasty C. Y'all know Nasty C?
Nasty C.
Nasty C?
He's a dope artist. He's from Africa.
Nasty C?
Nasty C, yeah. Young dope artist.
Nigga got a name like that, that shit come with a background.
So we all know that Nasty C is born and raised in Durban, but before we get into that, let's look at the history of Durban hip-hop. So before the Blackies and Double Smamane, KZN had underground heroes like Abdus and Raheem Kermit, alongside a handful of others, of course. But it's not a coincidence that Durban, the Durban that the listeners have embraced in the past few years, seems more appealing. The main differences between now and then is that in the formative phases of local hip-hop, regional territories weren't such a big deal because we were all just trying to figure out what our adaptation of the American music would sound like in South Africa.
Chill in the corner outside the venue. I used to do some shit like this. Yo! It's one. Check. Go big cypher in Ngcobo. Now when it's stuff like this, then little style, it break French lunch no supper. Action flows from your mind, like the cypher. The mic this supper. National League, second of better, best halfer. Hard work, master in this, we go tough land, the hustler. So
rapping in both isiZulu and English became a key feature from the beginning, helping us define the local sound. In the late 1990s, Durban's The Big Idea crew emerged and Zulu Boy released the first rap album entirely in isiZulu in 2006. Now on a national scale, looking at that move is insane. It wasn't only big for KZN, but big for a large portion of the country, and eventually a new aesthetic was created. So with this new aesthetic, artists began incorporating local slang, rhythms and sounds, recognizing that South Africa is a very dominant rhythmic nation. We can give examples like OK Malum Cool Cat, the Mlazi-born artist, was a very key figure in the evolution of hip-hop. His work with artists like producers like LV on the album Mlazi Milano helped popularize the Durban sound and took it to an international audience. Now, I don't want to seem like I'm acknowledging everyone else and not acknowledging the likes of Zakwe or Ricky or Duncan, etc., because they also impacted KZN and South Africa in their own way. But Nasty C has changed the landscape of KwaZulu-Natal hip-hop in a whole. But the same blueprint can never be used to change the landscape of South African music. Yes, Nasty C may be the most international artist out of Durban. And I mean, for crying out loud, he is the most streamed hip-hop artist of all time. But that's just stats, numbers, and this and that. I want to talk about the sound, the level of his musicality. Did it impact the country as a whole? And the simple answer is just no.
Danai Not Gurira says, I miss the old you. I miss the old Nasty C. And you know what, bro? I'm not mad at him because honestly, I relate to some extent. For example, I miss the old Wayne. And like Danai Not Gurira, I still follow Wayne in spite not enjoying his newer shit more than I enjoy his older shit. Now, do I leave this kind of comment under his post? No. Do I expect him to be old Wayne forever? Absolutely not. Bro, if he drops anything, an album, a song, I'm one of the first few people to listen to that, I promise you. I promise you, I'm one of the first few people to listen. And then I decide if I'll be coming back to listen a second time, third time, fourth time, depending on if that shit really hits and connects with me or not. because I understand that he doesn't owe it to anyone to be the same person that he was all those years ago.
I mean, let's go into Zulu Boy. For example, he released his album, which was exclusively in Zulu, and it wasn't just impactful to KZN, but it gives hip-hop in the country a new direction, not just any other direction, but a very authentic one. If we look at Nasty C, he's inspired people like Blackie and Usmamane because he was the first one to do it on a larger scale, and ultimately because of that, they trying to mimic what he has done. But now the issue here is that Nasty C mimicked a sound that is from elsewhere, which would have been okay if he mimicked a Zakwe or a Ricky Rick or OK Malum Cool Cat or something like that, right? Because at least that sound is from home. And ultimately, if Nasty C blew up to the level that he's at right now, and he mimicked a sound from home and he mimicked the sound from KZN, then SA music in a whole would look different.
Why do you think it's at the pit? Because the music is terrible. Because why? Because we watched Nasty C become a success, and everyone said, oh, Nasty C is a special case. Oh no, he can be American. Oh no, kids need to copy him. The media basically covered Nasty C as if he's like the hip hop messiah. You know what I mean? As if he could rap as good as Pro Kid. He can't. We know that. You know what I mean? You know?
Now, we can't blame people like Blackie or Usmamane because they just took what is from home, which was Nasty C. I mean, why wouldn't you want to be like your idol if, you know, you guys are from the same place? And now, Nasty C is the only artist from KZN who didn't draw inspiration from home. I mean, everyone drew inspiration from home from KZN, even the artists that came after him, because they drew inspiration from him. But his inspiration didn't come from home. And do you know how messed up that is? Because that is why hip-hop looks how it is today. Yes, Nasty C did a lot for, you know, Durban internationally. And he inspired a lot of people. He brings back W's every time he goes back to Durban. The tours he's had there, the impact he has at home, they love him out there, right? And he has done big moves, but those moves aren't enough to change the country's landscape of the culture. The sad reality is that in the 1990s, when they were fighting to convince the rest of South Africans that they can make American music sound like South African music, and some fans weren't feeling it because of Kwaito, well, we're back to that again. And all because of Nasty C's generation, we now have to start all over again, because yes, they may have done a lot for their hometowns, but they didn't do a lot for South Africa in a whole.